At
You are
sunrise, the fishing
just
village of
a
Mtoni came
fisherman.
alive beneath a sky painted gold. Wooden canoes rested on the quiet water. Women arranged baskets of silver fish beside the market road. Children chased one another between stalls covered with bright kitten's cloth. Then the sound of engines shattered the peace. A long line of black royal vehicles rolled toward the harbor. The villagers stopped what they were doing. Everyone knew what that convoy meant. Princess Amara Ndlovu had arrived. She was the only daughter of King Bhekizizwe, famous throughout the kingdom for her beauty, her intelligence, and a temper sharp enough to silence an entire room. She stepped from the first vehicle wearing an elegant ivory dress surrounded by royal officers. The villagers bowed. But one young fisherman did not. His name was Jabari Okoye. He wore a faded blue shirt, worn sandals, and a straw hat patched with a piece of old sailcloth. He stepped forward. "Your Highness," he said respectfully, "please listen before the royal officers marked the shoreline. This harbor feeds more than 600 families." Amara slowly looked him up and down. "And you are?" "Jabari. I fish these waters." She gave a faint smile. "Then you should know your place. A fisherman's work is to catch fish, not advise a princess." A murmur moved through the crowd. Jabari lowered his eyes, but his voice remained calm. "A crown can see far, Highness. It cannot always see what is beneath the water." Amara's expression hardened. "How poetic. Perhaps you can recite that to the empty nets after the resort takes this coast." One of the royal officers laughed. Jabari picked up a broken oar from the dock. "If the resort destroys the mangroves, the fish will disappear. If the fish disappear, the market dies. We are not standing in the way of progress. We are asking you not to confuse progress with profit." Amara stepped closer. "Remove him from the royal path." Two guards moved toward him. Jabari did not fight. He simply stepped back and looked directly into the princess' eyes. "One day, Your Highness, you may need the people you refuse to see." Amara turned away. She thought the matter was finished. She had no idea that the man she had just humiliated was hiding a secret that would soon shake the entire palace. Because Jabari Okoye was not a poor fisherman. He was Prince Kato Bhekizizwe, and his own father had sent him to discover the truth about the kingdom. That night, beneath the old palace tower, King Bhekizizwe summoned his younger son to a hidden room. The door opened. Jabari walked in. But this time there was no fisherman's act in his eyes. He removed his patched straw hat. "I spoke with Amara," he said. The king studied him. "And?" "The mangrove survey proves the resort plan is unsafe." The king sighed. "Your sister has become surrounded by people who praise everything she does. She believes authority means never being challenged." Kato placed several documents on the table. "And Minister Duma." "And Minister Duma." "Neither do I." The king looked toward the window. "Your sister believes the villagers are obstacles. I need to know whether she can change when no one important is watching." Kato understood. "You want me to stay disguised?" "Yes, especially around Amara." Kato hesitated. "And if she cannot change?" The king's face became serious. "Then this kingdom will need a different kind of future." By dawn, the king had arranged an official journey through the coastal districts. Amara was told that Jabari would guide her. She was furious. The princess who had ordered him removed from her path the previous day was now being forced to travel with him. And neither of them knew how much their lives were about to change. 2 hours later, Amara found Jabari waiting beside a battered white truck. One door was dented. One mirror was held together with wire. A small carved wooden bird hung from the dashboard. Amara stared at it. "You expect me to travel in that?" Jabari opened the passenger door. "I expect you to travel in a vehicle that reaches the destination. The road does not care what your carriage looks like." Her lady-in-waiting Nia tried desperately not to smile. Amara climbed inside. For the next hour, she complained about everything. The heat, the dust, the road, the seats, the noise. Jabari answered none of it. Finally, she snapped. Do you always ignore people when they speak to you? No, Highness. No, Highness. Then why are you ignoring me? I ignore words that do not require an answer. Nia covered her mouth. Amara glared at him. You think you are clever? No. Then what do you think you are? Jabari looked through the windshield. A man trying to finish a long journey. Their first stop was a small school in Kijani district. The roof leaked. The library contained only 11 books. The water pump had been broken for 6 months. Amara expected the headmaster to praise the crown. Instead, he looked at her and asked, why has the palace funded a seaside hotel while children study beneath plastic sheets? Amara opened her mouth. No answer came. Before she could respond, Jabari walked toward the broken pump. He knelt in the mud. Using a strip of rubber, a screwdriver, and a piece of bicycle chain, he began repairing it. Amara watched. Minutes later, water burst from the pipe. The children screamed with excitement. Jabari smiled. He did not look toward the cameras. He did not wait for applause. He simply washed his hands and stood. Amara approached him. Where did you learn that? From people who could not afford to wait for someone important. For the first time, Amara had no sharp reply. But that evening, another question began troubling her. Who exactly was this fisherman? The answer seemed even farther away that afternoon. Jabari drove around Lake Naya when dark clouds suddenly swallowed the sky. Wind bent the palms. Rain struck the windshield like thrown stones. Naya looked frightened. We need to turn back. Jabari tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The bridge ahead may flood. Then turn around, Amara demanded. There are 3 families on the other side waiting for clinic supplies. You cannot save everyone. Jabari looked at her. No, but that is not an excuse to save no one. A fallen tree blocked the road. Jabari stopped. He jumped into the rain and began clearing branches. Amara watched from inside the truck. Then she noticed something. An elderly woman and 2 children were trapped beneath a collapsed shelter. Without thinking, Amara opened the door. Stay inside, Jabari shouted. She ignored him. She removed her expensive shawl, wrapped it around the youngest child, and helped the old woman toward the truck. Naya followed with blankets. By the time the road was clear, Jabari's hands were bleeding. Amara took a clean cloth from her travel bag. Give me your hand. I am fine. That was not a request. He held out his hand. She carefully wrapped the cloth around his palm. You could have waited in the vehicle, he said. So could you. Their eyes met. For the first time, neither of them smiled to hide what they were feeling. Something between them had changed, but neither knew that the most dangerous part of their journey had not yet begun. That night they stayed in Ubuntu Bay. Villagers lit lanterns along the beach. Children danced near the water while drums echoed through the darkness. Jabari sat apart repairing fishing nets. Amara walked toward him. My mother raised me here, he said before she could speak. She sat beside him. When I was young, a company dumped waste into the northern inlet. The fish died. My mother sold her wedding necklace to buy food. He paused. She told me the sea remembers every hand that harms it. Amara looked toward the water. I did not know. Jabari continued repairing the net. You never asked. The words hurt because they were true. After a long silence, Amara spoke. Everyone at the palace believes I am cruel. Are they wrong? She should have been offended. Instead, she looked down. I was taught that if I showed uncertainty, people would use it against me. She swallowed. So I learned to speak first, judge quickly, never apologize. Has it made you happy? No. For a moment the princess looked nothing like the woman who had humiliated him at the harbor. Then children ran toward her. Princess, come dance! Amara resisted. Then she laughed. She joined them. Her movements were awkward, and soon everyone was laughing. Jabari watched her. He had come to investigate his sister. He had not expected to discover the lonely woman hiding beneath her pride, and that frightened him more than the investigation. Because he knew something she did not. Soon he would have to tell her who he really was. The next morning they returned to Mtoni. This time Amara listened. She spoke with fishers, boat builders, traders, families who depended on the harbor. No one was afraid to tell her the truth anymore. Then a young fisherman named Tunde showed them an old map. He pointed to the proposed resort site. Look here. Amara leaned closer. What is that? An underground freshwater spring. Her face changed. That spring supplies 3 villages during the dry season. She turned toward the Royal Survey officers. Why was this not included in the report? Tunde answered before they could. Because the men who wrote the report never left their offices. Amara stared at the documents. Something was wrong. Very wrong. She ordered the Royal Survey team to release every record. The officials hesitated. We need permission from Minister Duma. Amara's voice became cold. Then consider this your permission. The files arrived, and what they revealed shocked her. Payments had been made from the investors to a company secretly owned by Minister Duma's cousin. The resort would receive the harbor land for a fraction of its real value. The project was not simply a development plan. It was a massive scheme to steal the coastline. Amara's face went pale. My father trusted him. Jabari looked at the documents. Many dangerous people first earn trust by appearing useful. She looked at him. And what about you? He froze. What do you mean? What are you hiding? For a moment neither spoke. Jabari looked away. Everyone hides something. That is not an answer. No. He looked directly at her. It is a warning. Before she could question him further, someone screamed from the harbor. Fire. Before sunrise, flames raced across the wooden pier. Smoke covered the harbor. People ran in every direction. Jabari rushed toward the evidence box containing the stolen contract documents. Amara followed. Jabari. A burst of flame caught his shoulder. He stumbled. She dropped beside him. You are on fire! She tore part of her dress sleeve and smothered the flames. Then she noticed a man running toward a waiting boat. She recognized him. One of Minister Duma's guards. Stop him! The man turned. He fired a shot into the air. Panic exploded through the crowd. Jabari stepped between the gunman and Amara. He threw a heavy coil of rope. The weapon flew from the man's hand. Villagers rushed forward and captured him. The evidence box survived. But Jabari's shoulder was badly burned. As the healer treated him, Amara sat beside him. You protected me. Protected the documents. You stepped in front of a gun. You stepped in front of a gun. The documents were standing behind you. She stared at him. You make jokes when you are afraid. Only when a princess is watching. Her eyes filled with tears. I am sorry. Jabari stopped smiling. She continued. For the harbor. For the way I spoke to you. For every person I dismissed because their clothes were not as fine as mine. Jabari's voice softened. An apology is a door. He looked at her. You still have to walk through it. I will. She meant it. But before she could say anything else, the sound of royal drums echoed through the harbor. A line of guards appeared. And behind them came an elderly woman carrying a ceremonial staff. Queen Mother Naledi. She walked directly toward Jabari. Your Highness, she said, The entire harbor fell silent. Amara slowly turned. "Your Highness?" Jabari stood. He removed his patched straw hat. Then he pulled a simple cord from around his neck. At the end was a small gold seal bearing the royal elephant. Amara stared. Jabari looked at her. "My name is Prince Kato Bhekizizwe." The world seemed to stop. Amara looked at him in disbelief. The poor fisherman. The man she had insulted. The man who repaired the school pump. The man who stood in the storm. The man who protected her from a gun. Her missing brother. All the pieces suddenly fit. "You knew?" she asked her father. King Bhekizizwe stepped forward. "I sent him." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "You all watched me make a fool of myself." Kato shook his head. "No." He looked at her quietly. "We watched you decide who deserved your respect." The words struck harder than an accusation. Minister Duma was arrested for bribery, fraud, arson, and attempting to seize protected land. But Amara did not feel victorious. She felt exposed. She turned toward Kato. "Was any of it real?" "What do you mean?" The conversations. The storm. The night on the beach. Her voice trembled. "Did you only see me as an investigation?" Kato's expression softened. "At first I was sent to judge your character." He paused. "Then I met the woman who stayed in the rain to help strangers." Amara said nothing. "I watched you learn to listen. I watched you choose people over the project." He stepped closer. "Those moments were real." She swallowed. "You lied to me." "Yes. And you expect me to forgive you because you are a prince?" "No." His voice was calm. "I expect nothing." He looked at her. Title does not make a lie smaller." The hall became silent. Kato continued. "If you choose never to speak to me again, I will accept it." Then he added, "But I hope you judge me by the same standard you have now learned to use on yourself." Amara looked away. She had spent her entire life demanding respect because she was royalty. Now she understood something she had never been taught. Respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned. King Bhekizizwe immediately suspended the resort project. A public investigation began. The protected coastline remained under community stewardship. Instead of a private luxury hotel, the government created a cooperative fishing and conservation center managed jointly by the village's marine scientists and local businesses. But Amara knew a royal announcement was not enough. So she returned to Mtoni. This time there was no long convoy. No parade of officers. She arrived in the battered white truck. Kato had repaired it and painted it deep green. Amara stood before the villagers. "Before I speak about the future," she said, "I must speak about my past." The harbor became quiet. "I treated your knowledge as unimportant because it came from people without titles." She lowered her head. "I was wrong." She turned toward Mama Said. "You were not obstacles to the kingdom. You were part of its foundation." Then she said the words that once would have been impossible for her. "I am asking for your forgiveness." Mama Said studied her. "Forgiveness is not a crown we place on someone's head." She pointed toward the harbor. "It is earned through what they do next." Amara nodded. "Then I will begin today." She spent the afternoon repairing nets, recording the harbor's needs, and ordering the palace to publish major development contracts for citizens to examine. Kato remained in the village for several months. He worked beside the fishermen. He studied the shoreline. He helped design safer boats powered by solar panels. And he and Amara argued constantly. About budgets. About policies. About stubbornness. But their arguments were different now. Amara no longer demanded agreement. Kato no longer disguised every feeling as a joke. One evening they stood beside the water as the sun disappeared behind the mangroves. Amara smiled. You know you were a terrible fisherman. Kato raised an eyebrow. I caught more fish than you. You caught one fish in 3 days. It was a very intelligent fish. It escaped. It escaped. It returned to the sea with valuable experience. Amara laughed. Then her smile faded. I still hate that you deceived me. I know. I may remind you of it for the rest of your life. Kato smiled. I was hoping you might. She looked at him. Why? Because it means you plan to stay. For a moment neither spoke. The waves moved softly against the shore. Then Amara reached for his hand. I do not want to marry a prince because he is a prince. Kato held her gaze. Good. I want to marry the man who repaired a school pump, argued with a storm, and stood in front of danger when no one was. Applauding. Kato smiled. Then you may have to marry a fisherman. Only if he promises never to call me Highness when we are alone. I can promise that, Princess. She pushed his shoulder. You are impossible. You are impossible. Yet you are still here. A year later, the people of Mtoni gathered beside the harbor for the royal wedding. Before the ceremony, Amara found Mama Said waiting near the water. Are you nervous? The old woman asked. The old woman asked. Good. Not understood it. Amara laughed. Then Mama Said pointed toward the harbor. You came here once believing the coast belonged to the palace. She looked at the princess. Now you are standing here knowing the palace belongs to the people. The drums began. Kato spoke first. I once came to this shore wearing another name because I wanted to learn whether people could see character without a title. He looked at Amara. I discovered that I also needed to learn whether I could love someone beyond her. Mistakes. Amara took his hands. I once believed dignity meant standing above everyone else. Her voice trembled. I learned that true dignity is kneeling beside someone who needs help, listening before speaking, and admitting when pride has made you blind. She smiled. Kato, I cannot promise that I will never be stubborn. The crowd laughed. But I promise that I will never again confuse authority with wisdom. They exchanged rings. And when they kissed, the people of Mtoni cheered louder than the royal court ever had. Years later, Amara and Kato became co-rulers. Their first law required public meetings for every major development project. Their second created scholarships for children from fishing villages and crowded city neighborhoods. And whenever the elders told their story, they always remembered how it began. A proud princess had mocked a poor fisherman. A secret prince had disguised himself to discover the truth. A corrupt minister had tried to steal a coastline. There had been storms, fire, betrayal, and one woman who learned to apologize before it was too late. But the elders always ended the tale with the same lesson. A crown may command attention, but it cannot command respect. Wealth may open a gate, but it cannot purchase loyalty. And a disguise may hide a person's title, but it cannot hide the way they treat the powerless. True royalty is not found in gold palaces or bloodlines. It is found in the courage to listen, the humility to change, and the kindness we show when no one important is watching. So whenever the evening tide rolled into Mtoni, Princess Amara and Prince Kato walked beside the water without guards, without ceremony, and without disguises. They greeted the fishers by name. They helped children carry their books, and they watched the lanterns glow across the harbor. The sea had remembered every hand that harmed it, but now it remembered two people who had finally chosen to protect it.